Hey, third grade, Mr. Lineberger here, and today you're going to be starting to create this really fun stacked cake project. We're going to be talking about using cylinders, circle top, straight sides, three of them stacked up on top of a cake plate, doing some really cool stuff with cut paper and drawing lines with construction paper crayons, maybe some little pastels, make some candles, and have a really fun time creating this wonderful, creative, stacked cake project out of cut paper. So enjoy it, and I'll see you soon. Wayne Thiebaud was an American painter known for his colorful works depicting objects like pies, lipsticks, cupcakes, paint cans, ice cream cones, pastries, hot dogs, gumball machines, donuts, and lots of other wonderful goodies that you might see in a bakery window. And that's how Wayne Thiebaud became very famous. Was looking through a bakery window one day, noticed that the icing looked like paint on a canvas. So he went home and made these wonderful paintings with thick, creamy paint to look like real icing on a canvas. Wayne Thiebaud is also known for some landscapes and figure paintings. Wayne Thiebaud was born in November the 15th, 1920, in Arizona. Recently passed away December 25th in 2021. Wayne Thiebaud is known as a pop artist, which means a popular culture artist. To start our project today, boys and girls, you're going to be getting some paper for your cake. You're going to be using some ovals or ellipses to create the cake. You'll have a worksheet to look at that shows you trace the oval first, draw the lines down, draw the curved line to bottom, then you'll have your cakes to start stacking up. On the back of the paper is some ways to frost your cake towards the end of the project. To start off with, we want to work on our background paper. That's going to be your 18 by 24. You will choose any color you wish. Using the texture plates as you see here, you will create a texture on the back of your paper, on the front of your paper, using the crayons with no paper and your texture plate. Put the texture plate under your paper, rub the crayon across the paper, and watch the magic happen. To rub the crayon, lay the crayon down flat on the paper. You can change colors as much as you like. You can change texture plates as much as you like. There's 2 or 3 different ones per table. You want to fill in your entire paper with some really fun texture rubbings. You can overlap colors, overlap shapes, overlap textures, as long as you fill in the entire piece of paper. As you see here, an orange crayon does not show up, or a yellow crayon does not show up on the orange paper. So think about your colors and think about darker colors or lighter colors depending on what color paper you're using. Once your paper is filled up, take those items and move them to the side. Now it's time to start creating your cakes. Stop video here. So we'll need a pencil, some colored paper, and you will work with your paper going from side to side to start your oval drawings. Start with your largest cake first. That is the biggest oval on your paper. We'll be using the white oval drawers today. There are 3 sizes to choose from. I'm going to use all 3 for my cake. You may only want a 2-stack cake. So I take my first oval, lay it on my paper, make sure it's nice and straight. Take my pencil, trace around the oval carefully, holding that paper down so it won't move on you. Then I'm going to use another piece of paper or a ruler, whichever better for you. And I'm going to draw the straight sides of my cake. Those two sides are called parallel lines. When you add those parallel lines to your oval, you have created a cylinder. Now using the same template, match it up between the two lines, draw just the bottom, and now you have your cylinder cake. Set that one aside, a new piece of paper. Get the next size oval down. Place it on your paper. Here I'm going to trim my paper tall ways because it fits a little bit easier. Trace around my oval. Again, use my side of my paper or a ruler. Draw my parallel lines, one on each side. Make sure you're going all the way to the edge of that oval. Make those lines nice and straight. Use this tracer again. Go to the bottom. This is where you want to think how tall you want your cake. You can always trim it down if it's too tall. So don't worry about that. Make it as tall as you can, and we can trim. Last piece of paper, my smallest oval. And I'm going to use half of the piece of paper this time. So you can fold it in half, tear it or cut it. Keep the other piece for later for decorations. Trace around the oval. Use another piece of paper or a ruler. Draw your parallel sides. Use that tracer again to draw the bottom of the cake. Remember, you're only tracing the bottom of the shape there to make that curved line at the bottom. That's what makes your shape turn into a cylinder, which is a three-dimensional form. Now you're going to choose one more piece of paper and the largest oval of the four. And this is going to be your cake plate. So you won't need the whole piece of paper because you're only tracing around the oval. You're not creating this into a cake. All you have to have is just the oval. So maybe two people can share one piece of paper. Stop video here. Start cutting out all of your objects you just traced, from your cake plate to each one of your cakes. Now it's time to start thinking about how to stack your cakes. So you're going to look at your cakes and see if they fit on your paper. Now, if they're too tall or too big, we're going to trim. Easy as that. So you see how mine's not fitting on my paper. So I'm going to start by maybe trimming my green one first. All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that curve line. If you want to use your tracer and retrace the bottom of that curve, go right ahead. See how it looks. I'm going to trim off my red one just a little bit to make that cake fit on my paper. Take a look again. Does it look good? Put my cake plate underneath. Is it all working? Is it all fitting? Do I need to trim? I'm going to trim that pink one just a little bit too. I think my cake's just a little too high. I want some room at the top of my cake in case I want to add candles or decorations on top of my cake. So next, I'm going to start gluing and assembling my cake. Start with my cake plate first. Glue along the outside edge. Put it at the bottom of your paper, nice and straight. Take your second cake. You want to make sure you keep your pencil lines on the front of your cake so you know where the edge of your cake is. That's very important when you start decorating in a few. Line that up, make sure it's in the center of your cake plate. Make sure you've got some edge showing in the front of it. Press it down. Watch them glue sticks, don't roll off the table. Take your second layer of cake. This one still's not looking right, so I'm gonna trim it just a little bit more. Put some glue on the back of this cake, along the outside edges again. Make sure your pencil lines are on the front. Center it up. Make sure you got some room in the front of your cake. Press it down. Take your last piece of cake. Put some glue on the back side again, along the edges. And press it down onto your paper. Make sure it's centered up nice and tall. Make sure your cakes are stacking up straight. You don't want a leaning cake. And then make sure you rub on the back of your paper nice and soft to massage the paper to get all that glue to stick really well. So now it's time to start thinking about how you want to decorate your cake. Stop video here. So I'm going to take my decorating sheet, look at the designs, shapes, lines, textures to start decorating your cake. I'm going to start using some of my scrap paper, and this is where you can share with your neighbors at your table. They may have different colors. And what you want to do, take those tracers that you use to create your cake, place it onto your scrap paper, trace around the bottom of the cake, of that tracer, sorry. And I know you can't see what I'm doing here, but what I'm going to make is like a cloud line around that line. So make a little bumpy cloud line around that curve. I'm going to cut it out. And this is going to go at the bottom of that green cake. This is going to be the icing around the edge of the cake at the bottom of the green one. So I'm cutting out that clouded line. And you'll see how it fits at the bottom of that cake. See how that fits on there just right? It's got the same kind of curve. Get some glue. Put some glue on there. And stick it down. And I'm going to repeat this process with different colors. Use those templates, trace around just the bottom of it, do that cloud line around that line, cut it out, and you can decorate the bottoms and the top of your cakes. So here I'm going to start doing the yellow one. That's going to fit the bottom pink cake. Tracing around that line. Make that cloud line around it. You can see how that looks. It's just using the wavy line or a bumpy line. Cutting it out and gluing it down. So I'm going to continue here, and I'll come back in a few minutes. stop video here. Now with our cake icing done on the edges, now it's time to get our construction paper crayons. Those are the crayons with the black label. They're in your little baskets. And what you want to do is you want to use several colors. Look at your frosting sheet. Think about the designs on there. The zigzags, the wavies, the curly cues, puffy edges, puffy lines, dots, patterns, swirls, whatever. Use the crayons, color in your designs, add some fun lines onto the sides of your cake. As you can see here, I'm putting a zigzag line on this pink cake. I'm gonna add some swirls onto this green cake. Whoop, no I'm not. I'm gonna add some some wavy lines here on the pink cake again. Sorry about that. Jumped ahead of myself there. Now I'm gonna add in some swirls. Maybe, yeah, there you go. I may not be able to see that color yellow, but I'm gonna think. So I'm gonna use my sheet, look at it. I'm gonna choose the spirals there. Make some spirals on my cake. I know you can't see it that well, but the spirals are on there. And I'll go back later and I'll add some more spirals on top of those so you can see them a little bit better. But I'm going to decorate each layer using the construction paper crayons. Now, if you want to cut some designs out of scrap paper that you still have on the table, you're more than welcome to do that. If you want to cut roses and flowers or leaves. If you want to write happy birthday on the side of your cake, you can do that also. Here I'm putting some dots onto the red cake. So I'm going to continue decorating my cake and I'll come back in a few minutes. Now I'm going to use the white oil pastel, and I'm going to add some lines on one side to add a little highlight or a design. Then we use some black on one side, not a lot. I'm just going to put a little shadow in there. You see, I use my fingers to smear it a little bit. So I'm going really fast here, so I apologize for that. So now I'm going to take some yellow paper, and I think I'm going to add some candles to the top of my cake. Like I said, you can use your scrap paper to add candles, roses, or other things that you might want to the sides of your cake if you just don't want to draw things. So I've got some candles here, and I'm going to add them to the top of my cake. They're a little tall, so I'm going to trim them down and add some candles to my cake here. Kind of add some fun stuff to my cake, and I can add some other colors on it if I wanted to. You can add the candle flames or add a wick on top of it. You can use your crayons for that. Your construction paper crayons are good for that. They may not show up as bright, so you might have to add a couple layers of color to make them show up. And there you go. I've got my fun, creative cake. Gonna put my glue cap on, clean up my space, and take a look at my work and to see how well it looks. Just like a Wayne Thiebaud cake with my scallops, my icing, and my designs. I'm gonna add some more lines on here. I'm just getting kind of creative on top of stuff here. And you'll have a completed piece of work, just like Wayne Thiebaud.